Hello, everybody. I just ate some chips. Y'all know how I feel about my chips. Waiting for our guest. Here we go. Oops.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I am wonderful. Okay, so before we start, can I tell you I stand down for you? Like I stand down for you. So when I
Ah,
saw this pop up on my calendar, I was like, she wants out to who? Like,
yes.
no,
Chelsea Fuller, who I think is a
yes.
friend of both of ours, was like, "You got to talk to Michelle." And we said it would be our pleasure. So only for you on a Friday. This is supposed to be my reading and writing day and a grocery day nowadays.
Listen.
But before I used to be on the plane. So yes, it is my pleasure. And so for those of the followers and the folks out there who do not know, Michelle is a civil rights attorney in Florida who's doing amazing things, running for House District 70. Your primary is on the 20,
18th.
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 Ooh, Lord. Okay, the 18th. I don't know why I said
Heart,
the 20th.
my heart.
Yeah. So just around the corner. Michelle, I would love for you to start with us on just the state of the race and how things are going
Yes.
for you.
It is definitely an interesting race. This is majority minority seat, so what we consider a black seat in Pinellas County, and it's the district is the very definition of gerrymandering. Literally, you have South Pinellas, a sliver of another county, Manatee, Sarasota, and a pocket, Hillsborough County. But all of those pockets of those counties serve Black and Brown folks and folks who are economically, and socioeconomically challenged and disadvantaged. So really what we've seen in this area is that you either have two people that are going to try to run. They want to run because they want a title and they want to have something to do, or they're actually about bringing change and really making the lives better for folks that are coming behind you. And the state of the race right now, there are 3 women and 1 man. We definitely had a forum today, right before you and I joined. And it's heating up. We have the momentum. I'm really excited about that. We've gotten really great endorsements, national endorsements, also local endorsements. Our mutual friend, who's my law partner, Ben Crump, like literally was the person that was like, so you're going to run for the seat? I was like, well, okay, let me think about it. He has a way of saying no. And I had been thinking about it, but Ben has a way of kind of pushing you over.
Yes. Yes.
Over there. Yeah, you already know,
A
pushing you
very
over.
suggestive requirement.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when I'm like, well, I think I may do. Oh, great. So you're gonna do it. I'm like, okay. But I think really what has been interesting right now is this time that we're in with COVID and the uprisings that are happening,
Yeah.
in our community. And we've had folks who have been protesting now since Ahmaud Arbery's death. Well, murder. Let me call it what it is. Murder.
Yes.
Since that time straight, no stops. And I think that we have to have folks who have already been committed to do this work, that have already been doing this work when it wasn't sexy, when folks will look at you and say, what do you mean, Black Lives Matter? Are you a racist? Which, okay. And right.
Yeah.
There's that, and have been doing this work and literally been putting their lives, their bodies on the line for Black and Brown folks and for poor folks. And so I'm really honored to be in this position. When I filed to run, I found out that myself and another Black woman would actually, if we get elected, we would be the first Black openly queer women to ever hold any type of office in the state of Florida at any level.
Wow. Yeah. So I was reading about that and also reading about all of the endorsements that you've really racked up. I have to tell you, where you used to work with Arthenia Joyner, I love her. She is so great and funny. I think the only time in my life where I've disagreed with her was, and you will probably recall, the 2008 election, and she was a diehard Hillary
Yes.
supporter. like so many of our elders.
Yes.
And I remember, I mean, that's the only time I was at odds with her. We hadn't even met yet. And I was like, who is her? But I was like, but she going hard for Hillary. And I just have so much respect for her. So I saw that on here and I was like, oh my God, I love that. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about your platform. I think part of this is, and I think you probably know this, is your responsibility, given that Ben told you what you was going to do, is you're not just running on a platform for House District 70 in Florida. You're running on a platform, whether you like it or not, where young Black folks, young people of color, young queer people, right, can see you, women can see you shining, knowing that you're standing for issues that we care about the most. And so I really want people to hear your platform so they can be inspired to run themselves, inspired to support candidates themselves, inspired to support you, volunteer and donate. So talk a little bit about your platform.
Well, I mean, for me, when I decided to run, I was very clear that I was going to be who I am. I'm very clear about who I am. I'm very, I'm unequivocal about that. And so that was the basis of our platform. And we really rooted it in equity. And so it was myself, Chelsea Fuller, and another Black woman, Maya Brown. So my whole team is Black women. And and we literally went back and forth for about a month, really like getting the wording down. I was like, nope, I don't like that. Nope, I don't like that. Because I really wanted folks to know and see my heart and the work that I've been doing. And it's really, really rooted in equity. And I think, Angela, some of the things that are, heavy for District 70 is affordable housing. And then we talk about education equity. And then we talk about criminal justice reform and environmental justice and healthcare. But what I always say is that all of these issues are intersectional. You cannot solve one of these issues in a silo. You can't say, well, I'm just going to tackle affordable housing. Well, if a baby doesn't have a place to live, how's the baby going to learn at school?
That's right.
And if there's no wraparound services at school, because maybe a child is dealing with some issues at home or may have some mental health challenges, but if you don't have wraparound services, you're getting fed into the criminal justice system, and parents are calling me talking about, Attorney Rayner, what am I going to do? And if our kids don't have clean drinking water and are able to live, then you have healthcare issues. So I've been saying since the pandemic was even on the horizon, this has confirmed what we've been saying, everything that we've been talking about for years needing to be solved, the inequities that we've been addressing, what we've been seeing that people have been experiencing. Is COVID has really confirmed what we've been saying. And now we have an opportunity to do something about it. We either have an opportunity to actually make real change and get what we're demanding, or we can step back and still do business as usual. And I don't know about you, Angela. Well, I do know. None of us have the time to do business as usual. There is no time. Our people are literally dying at a disproportionate rate because of this. And because there is not equity, there is not folks actually really caring, putting people over profits in politics. And so that is what my campaign is based on. And I was very, very clear that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it based off of working for the people, because that's what I've always done.
Yeah. So speaking of working for the people, I think it's important for people to know some of the cases you've taken. You have a civil rights, civil liberties, really a racial justice practice. As an attorney, you've already talked about working with Ben Crump. I want you to talk a little bit about Markeis McGlockton and all the other folks who didn't have a hashtag, who haven't gone viral online. And just what you would do in the legislature to solve for that. So it's not just on the lawyer and the family to advocate, but how we can really address the police violence and the vigilante violence that we see so often in our communities.
Yeah, I'll never forget my first civil rights case. I was in St. Pete. It was 3 girls that were killed in a pond, and they were being chased by law enforcement, and they drove their car in the pond. And that's actually how I met Chelsea Fuller. And I kind of, then it was by accident. I was like, I didn't really want to actually do any of this work. I just wanted to be a good old country lawyer, good old criminal defense lawyer. And, God has a way of kind of pushing you into your purpose. And probably about 2 years later, Markeis McGlockton was killed, and literally killed and shot down in front of his child. And that, where he was murdered at, was literally about a mile from my parents' house.
Wow.
And so when I even got involved in that case, I got involved. This is my people. I'm in the streets with my people. And his family ended up coming to me asking me to help. And it was funny because Ben and I reconnected on that case because he represented Marquis's partner and I represented Marquis's mom and dad. And I'll never forget McGlockton, Marquis's dad, said to me, he said, Miss Rayner, I knew about stand your ground. Like, I got it. Like, I understood, like, Trayvon, like, I got, but I never thought that that law would visit my house.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
never thought that I would have any interaction with that. It's kind of one of those things that you were over here. And even now, and while, while I'm in the process of running for the seat, I keep that in mind because the work that we do, especially when I get to the legislature, it is going to affect people's lives, whether it's a small law, whether it's a law like stand your ground, it's going to affect people's lives. And am I going to legislate with folks in mind? And I have to do that because there was never a time that any parent, especially Black parents, Black and brown parents, would think that a law like stand your ground would allow their children's killers to literally walk away scot-free. Markeis was killer. He was walking around for 25 days. He was in police protective custody for 25 days. And I know this. As a criminal defense attorney, if my client, who would be a Black man, were to kill someone and assert stand your ground, they would say, we're going to take you to the county jail, Ms. Rayner, go ahead and talk to them at the county jail about that.
Yeah.
And so just because we have laws don't mean that they're moral, don't mean that they're right. There was a time folks thought Jim Crow laws were moral and right. There were times that slavery was the law of the land, and that was moral and it was right. So we have to have folks that are unafraid to speak truth to power. And I think that, it is, if you know anything about, I don't know if Chelsea even gave you any idea about who my parents are, but my parents were some of the first Black students to integrate the University of South Florida. So right now to this day, if you walk in my mama's house, there's a picture of Jesus Christ and a picture of Malcolm X. Yeah. So that should already let you know.
Like, at the same damn time.
Period. And so when my friends were out playing and watching cartoons when they were growing up, I was watching Eyes on the Prize. I was watching documentaries about our people. My mom was making me read Malcolm X. I was like, I read Malcolm X when I was in like sixth grade. I'm like, but I now thank her for that, because knowing what her and my father put into me of understanding of how we always have to be in service of others. We always have to be in service of others, no matter where we ascend to, where we go. And, I even think about you, Angela, like when you're on TV, you're still in service of others because you're speaking that truth to power. You're using that platform to uplift people who may not have the agency in that moment to use their voice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, there's so many times where we are put into position, whether it's elected position, a volunteer position that we chose, and then somehow that community chose us and we're pushed to the forefront, whether it's television or, especially Black lawyers. Some of the greatest advocates and champions I know for our causes growing up and now are Black lawyers. That was what I was so drawn to, right? And so I get it. And I think it's so admirable. I respect you so much for choosing to take this other step of running for office, especially in a space where it is unknown. And you have to combat laws like Stand Your Ground, which hopefully will make it a lot easier for you and your peers who will continue to practice to really take on some of these cases.
Yeah.
In addition to Stand Your Ground, what are some of the other laws that really, if we can shift more to police reform, what are some of the other things on the books in Florida that you want to take on as a legislator?
Well, we got to think about qualified immunity, so there's that. I think also when we have a citizens review board, one of the things that's so important is that people are like, we have a citizens review board. Like, okay, cool. But they can't subpoena people. They have no teeth. Their recommendation is just that, like, it's as good as this piece of paper that's right in front of me. So if we are really going to have this conversation about police reform and what that looks like, there has to be a commitment, not only from the legislature, not only from city governments, but also law enforcement, and then the people as well, to collectively come together. And I always say that we're reimagining our relationship with law enforcement. I understand that law enforcement is here to stay. Now, we have folks some folks that believe in abolition and all that, and we can have that policy conversation another day. I don't think that, but if we're in this moment right now, law enforcement is here, but there has to be a real commitment to deal with it, and not just a real commitment to do this hard work. And then as a legislator, there's only certain parameters that I have, right? So I can deal with, qualified immunity. I can deal with citizen review boards, but it's the cities and the municipalities and the counties that set the budgets for, local law enforcement. So how do I, as a legislator, hold the cities and governments accountable, because we know that there's this home rule? And so do we lean on that? But I think that we start having these collective conversations, because I can do what I can do in my own capacity. They can do what they can do, but we have to come together. But those are ending qualified immunity, looking at the police bill of rights in the state of Florida, and also looking at citizens review boards are things that I'm already going to be taking on when I get elected, because I think that we really have to have these conversations. And I've been really lucky to be at some of these tables already, just by virtue of the work that I do. But I think that now kind of building political power in a way that helps our people, not building political power so my coffers can get just fatter. And I'm like, oh, great, I have a title, but using that political power, and essentially that political power I have, giving it back to the people.
Love that. When you think about some of the biggest challenges that you'll expect to face after you're sworn in, what are some of the things where you're like, okay, I know this is going to be a challenge, but let's go? Like, what are your top priorities, and what are you most like, this is going to be challenging?
Listen, so the Florida House is overwhelmingly Republican. I mean, right now we are getting close to flipping it, and we're starting to get more folks who are progressive and who are actual real people power Democrats in there. So that's going to be a challenge, and I'm not, blind to that not being a challenge. However, I always joke, but it's kind of serious. I always say, hey, listen, I'm a criminal defense attorney, so I literally have to get prosecutors on my side all the time. I have to pull them. We have to get to a resolution. And if we don't, then we go to trial and I win, and I tell them, don't do that again. So, but really, pulling them to our side. So that's one of the things I know that's going to be difficult, creating that bipartisan consensus. But we've got to deal with this healthcare issue. I think COVID has let us know now that, universal healthcare, however it's going to look for the state of Florida, it has to happen. There are literally, I posted an article today on my Facebook, in District 70, the district that I'm running in, that literally there are people that are coming to work and they have masks on, they're coughing, and people know that, okay, you're probably sick, but they're like, I can't afford to stay home. I can't afford not to work. I don't have health care to go to my doctor to get the appropriate medicine that I would need, that my doctor would prescribe. That we can't have that. That's like a human right issue. That's right. And so we're going to have to tackle that. And so for me, it's really tapping into that, folks being morally minded, having that moral compass of saying, listen, while you may be, lucky that you have health insurance, I'm a small business owner. I provide health insurance to my employees. So I get it. I get that there's a cost. But at some point, we got to make sure that all of us can live thriving lives. At some point, we got to make sure that Florida works for all of us. And District 70 right now is literally one of the epicenters in the state of Florida for coronavirus.
Wow.
Yes.
So do you have any concerns, given that fact, about this coming election in November? How are you all expecting to navigate that? Of course, there's this nationwide push now for vote by mail. And then also at the same time, we see what Donald Trump is doing with the Postmaster General, et cetera, et cetera. So what are your thoughts or concerns about you have a primary first, but then the general?
Yeah, so the Pinellas part of District 70 votes overwhelmingly vote by mail. And then the other parts of District 70 vote either do early vote or election day,
Yeah.
E-Day. My concern is that we have older folks that will keep the
Yeah.
ballots and saying, oh, I could just, I can just send it. And you and I both know right now, I will tell you, we dropped a mail piece probably 9 days ago.
Yeah.
People are just now getting it.
Wow.
Now, Angela, you've been in this work, you've been in this political life for a very long time. You normally, if you drop a mail piece, you probably get it the next 3 days, right?
Well, here's the thing that's so crazy about this. Not even like that. I ordered something from New Jersey. That thing, I ordered it on July 15th. They didn't process the mail until July 23rd. But ask me if it's here on the West Coast. Ask me if I got it
Wow.
yet. So, like,
Wow.
we've been saying, there's been like those memes going around that'll say, like, don't count your election day as November 3rd. Treat it as October 21st. Right?
Yeah,
And it's real. And we might even need to be like, as soon as you get your ballot, like, turn it back around.
and
Like,
that's what we're doing here. There,
yeah.
like some of our churches are doing that.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Pause. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so some of the churches here are doing like the ballot drop-offs. Like, so they've coordinated with the supervisor of elections to be a ballot drop-off place. So you can just a bit where, and it's literally calling, especially our older people, like, hey, I know if you don't want to go out, you need to vote by mail. You need to really get this done. And then even encouraging early vote, because obviously I know on, election day, actually E-Day, that there's obviously going to be the voter suppression tactics, which normally happen, that. So literally just really encouraging people to vote early as you possibly can, because it's insane. It's literally insane. And what's so crazy when he was like, oh, vote by mail is bad, it's terrible, especially in the state of Florida. Vote by mail has actually benefited Republicans.
Heck yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like, I mean, I guess. So it's just.
But also for him to say vote by mail is fraudulent when there's 0.0025% chance of a voter fraud issue with vote by mail. And how does he vote? By mail.
By mail.
In Florida.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, anyway. So back to you, not that man, back to you. If there is, one or two or three things that you really want the viewing audience to know about your race, about how to be supportive, about how to get involved. You talked about your priorities already. What are some of those things?
I think that we're in the fight of our life. I've had an opponent characterize me as a fat Black lesbian to tell folks that they should not vote for me. I've had opponent, I'm running against someone who's never voted. He never thought to register to vote until he decided to run. That's not shade. It's, it is a fact.
That's a mess. Shade from me, not from Michele. Shame on you. How about that?
And we have folks who are leaning in on other people's records. And right now, this is not the time to have people that just want to have something to do. Like, I have a lot to do. And so, but I know that I kept looking around saying like, oh, okay, well, maybe they'll step up, or this is the kind of leader that I want. And at the end of the day, I can't keep waiting for the leader that I want. I have to be the leader that we need and be the leader that I need. And so, election day is around the corner. So if you are able to contribute, would love the contribution. And it's www.michelefforflorida.com. Michele has one L. If you're not able to do that, but you're able to share our message, just repost on socials, that's free. That's free. Would love for that to happen. If you're able to phone bank, listen, like phone bank and text bank, we are and would love for you to be a part. If you live in District 70, love your votes, and also be able to lit drop with us. We are really trying to make our case, and I bring up the differences between myself and my opponents, not to shade them, not to attack them, but so you can really know what's at stake. Florida has always been a battleground state, and it's not just a battleground state within the nation when it comes to national elections. It's a battleground state within the own doggone state. We are literally fighting for everything that we have, and we need strong leaders to make sure that the people are actually getting what they need. And one of the taglines I always say, but it's something that's so true, that if you're looking for me, I'll be with the people. That's where I'm gonna be at.
I love that. I love that, Michele. I really appreciate you taking time on a Friday in the middle of the heat of the race. We
Thank you
wish
for
you the
having
best of
me.
luck. We're going to be sending you prayers. Y'all go
Amen.
text bank, phone bank, send donations. Don't just send her prayers and thoughts. Send her your action,
Yes.
your support on social media. What else can they do? If you're in her district, District 70 in
Vote,
Florida,
vote.
vote for her.
And I'm the last Michele. So there's two Micheles. I am the
Oh,
last.
that's important.
I am the Rayner. Right here.
Yeah,
Right.
that's backwards for us, but you all know, you see it. It's Rayner.
Rayner. Yes.
Yeah.
Rayner, vote. And just, yeah, share our message because, I think that it's so crazy when I'm out in the streets. People are like, oh yeah, Markeis McGlockton attorney. I'm like, okay, yeah, hey y'all. But
Yeah.
it literally like just makes my heart happy to be able to like be with the people. And so we have to be socially distanced with the people, but we're still with them. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Angela, for having me. And I see my friends talk about Michele with one L. Yes, it's Michele with one
I
L.
love
Okay.
that. They're like, 1L Michele. You guys gotta say 1L Michele, 1L Michele.
One L Michele. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me. Like it means the world. Like I said, I had to kind of get my fangirl out for a minute.
No, I'm grateful that you could do this. Somebody just put the website, so I'm pinning that comment really quick. Thank you,
That's
everybody.
Miss Maya Brown, who is my consultant. Hashtag trust Black women.
Hey,
Come on now.
Maya in the building.
Maya in the building. Yeah.
And yeah, I thank you for your service, for protecting Black lives, for defending Black lives, for fighting for Black lives inside the courtroom and out. And I just wish you the best of luck, sis. I got to do whatever Chelsea says, but this was such a pleasure. We were looking at your stuff, and the whole team was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." So they're so
Thank you.
excited about
Thank you.
your candidacy and about what you're bringing to the legislature. So we look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing great things on August 18th.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate you again. And you almost made me cry, but held it in. So thank you. I really
Aw,
appreciate the acknowledgement of the work because that's what we're here to do. We're here to be in service. So appreciate you. Thank you, Angela.
you good, sister. See you soon. Take
See
care.
you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was Michele Rayner. She's running for House Legislative Seat, District 70 in Florida. And she's just phenomenal. So I hope that you all will support her with your votes, support her with your donations, support her with your time and your talents on text banking and phone banking and all that great stuff. This is a sister that's been fighting for us in the courtroom and now wants to take that to the Florida legislature. So let's lift her up. Let's give her support. Happy Friday, y'all. This is my last live. I was tired. Bye.